You have almost certainly seen this bird already. Maybe at a zoo, on a slow afternoon. A child tips their head back at the wire, watching a huge dark shape hunched on a post. There is a bright numbered tag on its wing and a keeper somewhere off to the side. It looks like a catalogued thing, managed, counted, safe. But that number on its wing is not a zoo label. It is there because, 40 years ago, you could have counted every California condor left alive, all 22 of them, and had fingers to spare. In 1987, the last wild one was lifted out of the sky, and for years afterward not a single condor flew free anywhere on Earth. This is the California condor, met at last on its own terms. Rise on a thermal off a canyon rim, and this is what meets you. A wingspan approaching 3 meters, about 9.5 feet, the largest wild bird in North America. An adult may weigh as much as 11 kilograms, 24 pounds, too heavy to bother flapping. It lets the rising air do the lifting. From the ground, all you usually catch is the shape. A slow, dark cross against the glare, wingtips spread like fingers and barely moving. And for all its eagle size, it is not an eagle at all. It is a New World vulture, a scavenger, and it eats only carrion, the bodies of animals already dead. It kills nothing itself. Think less bird of prey, more cleanup crew, the animal that arrives after the story is already over. Look closely, and the head is almost bare, pink, wrinkled, faintly reptilian. Whenever T-Surthri did not with the Surstay with female in tape. Bare skin is simply easier to keep clean when your meals are eaten from inside a carcass, and that skin can flush, pale to vivid pink, as the bird's mood turns. Condors are thought to be living relics of the Ice Age. Researchers believe they once ranged across much of North America, feeding on the carcasses of giants, mammoths, great ground sloths, and drew back to the western cliffs when that world died away. Dawn over the high desert. The cliffs catch the first heat, and the air begins to move. A condor does not so much fly as wait for the sky to lift it. In search of a single meal, it may travel over 150 miles in a day, soaring for hours without one wing beat. Riding those thermals, it may climb to around 15,000 feet and glide at well over 50 miles an hour. From up there, a bird can read 100 miles of country at once, watching for the particular stillness that means something has died. It finds the dead by sight and by reading the other scavengers already dropping toward a kill. Feeding is not gentle. A condor gorges when it can, storing a heavy meal against the lean days when there is nothing at all. And if something corners it there, on the ground and weighed down, it has an answer. A cornered condor may be sick up its last meal, lighter for a fast escape, and deeply off-putting to whatever meant it harm. For a bird this size, the condor is strangely quiet. It has no syrinx, no true voice box, so its whole vocabulary appears to be a range of hisses, grunts, and snorts. What it lacks in voice, it makes up for in time. Condors are among the longest-lived of birds and may reach 60 years of age. A young condor leans on its parents long after it can fly, in no hurry at all to be anywhere. But they are slow to begin. A condor does not breed until it is 6 to 8 years old, and a pair usually raises a single chick, often only every other year. There is no real nest. The female lays one egg on the bare floor of a cliff cave or, in the old days, in the hollow of a giant sequoia. One egg every other year from a bird that needs the better part of a decade just to grow up. It is a way of life that works beautifully until something goes wrong quickly. In the 20th century, something went wrong quickly. Shooting, poisoning, and a slower poison we will come back to drove the condor down and down. Some were shot, some ate poison left out for other animals, and some, quietly, were being killed by the very meals that kept them alive. By 1982, only 22 California condors were left alive anywhere on Earth. The decision that followed was brutal and brave. Catch them all. In 1987, biologists took the last wild condor out of the sky. For the first time in the species' long history, not one flew free. It survived only in cages. Every California condor alive today descends from just 27 birds gathered into a captive breeding program at the San Diego Wild Animal Park and the Los Angeles Zoo. The entire future of the species now sat in a handful of enclosures, watched around the clock. Their keepers turned the condor's own slow biology to their advantage. Take away a female's first egg, and she will often lay a second, a trick called double clutching that doubled how fast the flock could grow. In 1992, the first captive-bred condors went back to the wild. Then more of them in Arizona, in Utah, in Baja California, in Mexico. From that low of 22, the world population has climbed back to more than 560 birds, over half of them now flying free. Today, there are wild condors over the Grand Canyon, along the California coast, and above the sea cliffs of Baja country that had not held one in living memory. It is one of the great rescues in all of conservation, and it is not finished. Remember that slower poison. The single biggest barrier to recovery is lead. Condors swallow tiny fragments of spent lead ammunition in the carcasses they scavenge, and lead poisoning is still a leading cause of death in the wild birds. So the wild flock is trapped and tested again and again, and many birds are treated to draw the lead back out of their blood. That, in the end, is the real reason for the number on the wing. It is conservation as intensive care, a wild animal that stays wild, in part because people keep pulling it back from the edge. Every wild condor is watched because every wild condor might still need saving again. And in 2023 came a new threat. A bird flu outbreak killed 21 wild condors in the Arizona-Utah flock, and for the first time the species was given an emergency vaccine. But the condor had kept one secret, and it waited until 2021 to give it up. Geneticists checking the breeding records found something never before recorded in the species. 2 chicks had hatched from unfertilized eggs, fatherless, from mothers who were not isolated at all, but housed the whole time with fertile males. It was the first time such a virgin birth had ever been confirmed by genetic testing in any bird that had a mate available. A species we nearly counted down to 0, it turns out, can, in a sense, begin to count itself back up. The California condor you meet behind wire is a number in a ledger, tagged, tested, tracked. The one that meets the wild is 9.5 feet of Ice Age survivor riding the heat off a canyon toward 15,000 feet of open air. To many native peoples of the Pacific coast, it was never only a bird. It is sacred, the thunderbird, and in 2022 the Yurok tribe returned condors, pregoniche, to the skies of Northern California after more than a century's absence. Watch one climb now, on 3 meters of steady wing, and it is hard to believe the sky was ever empty of them. You have seen this bird. Now, perhaps, you have finally met it. If a condor has ever crossed your patch of sky, tell me below, and thank you for watching.